haven't watched the first one yet, go watch that one and share it at least 10 times. If not, you shall hear the pleasurable moans of a ghost coming from your mom's room tonight. Hello! I guess it's time for another video, huh? I do these because if anything is better than the crippling loneliness of being in this room locked up for freaking hours making another video for you guys! I'm just kidding, you know I love you guys. That's more than you can say for me! Hey, also, Trump, you mind just backing off? I'll make the videos when I want to make them. Constantly harassing me for the next unknown developer video. Tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I'll start releasing more unknown developer videos when you release your tax information. But before we actually go on to the next two things on this video, I just want to point out that someone known as Raka Raka knew where that song was from the first one, and I'm gonna put a link up here, and if it's not there, then it's probably down in the description below of what the actual song is, and you guys can go look at it yourself if you want. The next thing up on the list is Josabeth, which I will show you right now!
There was no end to the tale. Yet her name was never coupled with that of any youth. And even then, it was oftener in the shape of wondering conjectures. Whether he would dare to make love to her. Her tastes were anomalous. Her habits were lawless. Some said that was not the worst of it. At nearly 15 years old, when she was growing fast, and to which the sex at all ages has a certain instinctive tendency in preference to more palpable instruments for the righting of its wrongs.
This one's a little more weirder for me, at least, because I feel like this is probably talking to Melissa, which if it is the case, then that means Melissa was really young when this happened. Or it might have a different meaning, which I will tell you once we get to Abner. But this one kind of makes sense to me because if you remember in Athalia, there is one section where it reads, "But as she could not consent to this, and time passed on, she, because of the bad fare and other hardships suffered, continually pleased herself till her soul left her body." Could this be Melissa? Could this be why in 19 she's constantly talking about being turned on and wanting to be pleased?
This is where I masturbate. It's too early for another fingering.
Could the side effects of these procedures made her mind try to cope with it by constantly pleasing herself?
I like soup and I love coffee. So remember to fuck me in the pussy whenever you want.
Breathe through my mouth and lick my ass. Thank you.
People are different all around the world and they all try to cope with things in their own ways. It would make sense if there are people out there that try to cope through sexual pleasures. personally think that Melissa has the right attitude for this. In order to cope with life and make it hurt less, I also masturbate relentlessly. Next thing on the list is Abner, an image file that turned out to be an actual audio file, so here it is!
I agree, sister. She needs careful supervision to adhere to. I shall arrange to start treatment without delay. In the meantime, we'll see if we can get it a bit clearer. Now, do chip in if you want to. Every now and then you'll bump into one of these. Parkinsonism, patients are being treated with Sora wealthier drugs. And if you do spot one, you'll be pretty pleased with yourself, and rightly so. All right. Treatment of choice is conservative, systematic psychotherapy. Sedation is indicated, and in other cases, sometimes you'll need a combination of drugs. But don't drag the treatment out too long. This, with new attitudes and new drugs, has transformed the mental hospitals during the last 20 years. When you get contamination with anxiety or hysterical tendencies, and schizophrenic features and so on, the odds lengthen. ECT may still offer the best prospect. I didn't use the word cure, and it neither increases nor reduces the chance of recurrence. But a good many patients never have a further attack, and others will go for years. They still look for help if they feel the trouble coming back. I feel sure that more committed suicide, and a much bigger proportion became demoralized and spent years in an institution. Others were wrongly diagnosed as suffering from organic disease, or had their tonsils or teeth removed on the assumption that these were at the root of the trouble. Malnutrition and intercurrent infection occurred, and some patients even developed pellagra. But let's be fair, the majority suffered greatly in the process. Our main efforts are devoted to the shortening of the illness and relief of the suffering. And believe me, these patients do suffer. Of course, in the old days, fractures were a serious complication. But the introduction of muscle relaxants has changed all that. Of course, advanced organic disease is still a contraindication. For milder cases, 6 to 8 is an average number, but the spacing is important, otherwise you get side effects. Mainly amnesia and mild confusion. Some patients, especially the obsessionals, get very worried about this and they need a lot of reassurance. And not for healthy people who happen to be a bit browned off. As with the rest of medicine or surgery, it requires more finesse to know when to withhold treatment than to give it. Although the treatment is harmless enough for a physically fit person, we do feel we should keep the treatment down to an effective minimum, especially where you get these regular recurrences. Whatever you do, don't forget that if there's any suicidal risk, home treatment is out of the question.
Now, obviously, if you actually listen, there's a lecture being told to some sort of like medical field, at least from what it sounds like to me. And also under that is a voice saying a bunch of numbers, which is obviously a code. I haven't figured out anything on the code because every cipher that I've gone through, it doesn't make sense to actually apply it to this one. Either way, I'm stupid, so let's see if you guys can figure it out.
And now, a brief history lesson in Athalia.
In history, it seems that Athalia is queen of Judah. Josabeth is the wife of Jod, who is a high priest, and Abner is the captain of the Jewish forces. Athalia was the daughter of King Ahab, who later became queen because someone perceived to be her brother or nephew, Jehoram, who decided to marry her. Jehoram and his son later got assassinated, leaving her to be the queen. Athalia tried to remain as queen by executing the rest of the family bloodline, who could later become king. However, Josabeth took the youngest of the family, Joas, to spare him from being executed. Eventually, Joas grows up and returns to claim his kingdom and executing Athalia. Abner, as captain, hears about what Athalia is doing and goes to warn Josabeth in order to keep the family bloodline alive.
This concludes the brief history lesson on Athalia.
There you go. Now I have showed you every single thing that's in Athalia. You guys can stop messaging me now, but now it's time to tell you what I think, my little theories. This is the part where everyone hits X on the freaking video. The interesting part of this lecture, though, is how it talks about mental institutions and schizophrenic features. When you look at the game descriptions, you will realize that they don't have the same cadence. Some sound as if the unknown developer is giving the explanation, others sound like a doctor's note or a woman. Each game seems to represent a person or is made by said person. If you still don't believe me, there's one final clue that has been there since the very beginning. But first, let's look at schizophrenia. The definition reads, a mental disorder characterized by abnormal social behavior and failure to understand reality. Common symptoms include false beliefs, unclear or confused thinking, hearing voices that others do not, reduced social engagement, and emotional expression, and a lack of motivation. People with schizophrenia often have additional mental health problems such as anxiety, depressive, or substance use disorders. Symptoms typically come on gradually, begin in young adulthood, and last a long time. The causes of schizophrenia include environmental and generic factors. Possible environmental factors include being raised in a city and poor nutrition during pregnancy. There's also another definition I want to show you: dissociative identity disorder, also known as multiple personality disorder, a mental disorder characterized by at least two distinct and relatively enduring personality states. There is often trouble remembering certain events. These states alternately show in persons' behaviors. Presentations, however, are variable. Associated conditions often include borderline personality disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, substance misuse disorder, self-harm, or anxiety. The cause is believed to be due to childhood trauma. In about 90% of cases, there is a history of abuse in childhood. In other words, a person who suffers from these illnesses can feel fractured, divided, showing many different personalities, many different faces. Which brings me to the clue we had all along. The unknown developer's face. A shattered face. Even the name itself, the unknown developer. We took it as the developer being mysterious, but it could just be that even the developer doesn't know who they are.
Who am I?
Lately, the unknown developer has been promoting another person known as Channing Sullivan Garnett, who, other than looking like Freddie Mercury, has a face that doesn't seem to belong there. Another face for the unknown developer. The unknown developer has disappeared, and it seems that Mr. Garnett has replaced him for now, uploading many songs on Bandcamp, giving more clues and hints, possibly trying to tell people where to look for answers. When asked who he is on Twitter, Mr. Garnett always responds with the same response.
Hi, I'm sorry, but your message was listed in the request tab, and I completely missed it. I'm still new to Twitter. There's a lot to learn about its interface. The unknown developer matter. Yes, I am aware of it. However, these tracks are made by me, Channing Sullivan Garnett, but they are by the unknown developer too. Is the unknown developer the original creator? Yes, of course. But so am I, and that doesn't mean that we are one and the same. So you may asking, who am I? I'm just Channing Sullivan Garnett. Simply a guy who loves music and bikes. Usually I just mind to my own business, despite the fact that initially things were different. I think that the unknown developer remains the only identity agreeing to statements and opinions made by the unknown developer. I have my view on certain facts that let me live my life in a much more peaceful and focused way. If all this didn't make any sense to you, don't worry. It took me a long time to understand.
With that statement, Tablecloth Punt found something interesting in that message.
Hi, this is UD.
The unknown developer has updated the itch.io page lately, sharing Channing Sullivan Garnett's Bandcamp, along with the Discord server trying to solve this mystery. The unknown developer has also shared my playlist on the itch.io page, and I would like to say thank you. I still haven't received an answer to my question on Twitter, and since I know the UD is watching, I have another question. I would like to know if they would ever lend their audio talents to me for my future projects. Hey, it doesn't hurt to ask. Other than that, let me know what you think about my theory. Like, comment, subscribe, share, or whatever you want. I will see you in the next one.